Again, I was watching one of Cutlery Lover's videos a while back, and he had talked about MREs, and that got me thinking I should upgrade some of mine. So I bought some of these civilian versions, and just did a video on how that turned out. But as I started digging through my MREs, it turned out that I had quite a bit of assortment there. So going onto the internet with the Droid here, I went to MREinfo.com, and it's a great website for learning about MREs and what all is available out there. I'll put a link to them in the sidebar. So as I started to research, I saw that there's lots of different MREs out there, different brands, both military and civilian. And as I started to look through my MREs, it turns out I had a couple of different varieties. So I figured I'd turn on the camera and do a video about it. Alright, so I stuck the camera on a tripod. So there's these civilian MREs, which are made by a company called Sopaco. And they're packaged in these clear bags, which are pretty heavy, pretty much as heavy as these, not quite. And as I started going through my old MREs, what'll happen is I'll eat, an MRE, let's say, and I didn't use everything. I had the spoon left over and the beverage mix left over, so I just left it in the thing and threw it back into my pile of MREs in case I wanted to salvage something out of here. It looks like I kept a couple of the heater pads too. So anyway, this one happens to be from Sopaco Packaging, and as I went through my MREs, I only had one. That one back there is the only one I have that's still a full one from Sopaco. All mine are mostly Warnick, and then I have a couple more from AmeriQual. And as I was digging through, quite a few times I'll just throw the empty bag, or the half-empty bag, back in there. Like this one has the accessory pack and the spoon and the candy out of it. So, in case I want to use it some other time. And then I keep the bags around for projects and stuff. And like I say, as I started to go through them, I noticed that there's a couple of different types of AmeriQual. Now these two are pretty much the same. The only real difference is that this one's a little fuzzy. It looks like it went through the machine a little weird. But if you look at the differences here, there's this style where the printing is in the center on the bag, and then there's this style where it's just a continuous roll, and the thing happens, it repeats, so that there's always at least one full label on the bag. But it's definitely a different setup. And then if you look at the difference on these, this one's a little fainter, but the main thing is this font is different. If you look at the font here, and then the font here, that's different. Also, this one doesn't say vegetarian on it anywhere. This must have been before vegetarian. This one is more recent. Let's take a look inside of this one. This one looks to be pretty full, actually. Not sure why. Maybe somebody just didn't want to eat all of this one. So there was the accessory pack in here. Looks like it's got some drinks and some gum. It's got a pound cake. It's got some peanuts, shelled and roasted, peaches, and then a heater, a flameless heater. So this one looks like it had the meal taken out of it, but most of the rest of the meal is still here. Maybe if there was crackers or something, those are missing. But a lot of this meal is still here. So anyway, that's the AmeriQual ones. And then we do have a couple of the different Warnick ones. Again, this one is, I thought it was two different ones at first, because this one looks a little different at first glance than this one. But if you look close, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the video, it looks like somebody took some kind of turpentine or something to this and just rubbed out the warning that says U.S. government property resale is unlawful. So, a couple of, not really a different one, but it looked different. And then this one is another one that looks like someone did just a better job of removing all the warnings off of it. And that's one of the reasons that I like these bags, because you can use them over and over. You just take something like some turpentine or whatever and clean off this writing, and you get a nice tan bag like this, pretty heavy duty. Can be used for quite a few different purposes. So I went through, those are some of the ones that I had, like I say, half eaten, and just a couple that I have still in my stockpile, or whatever you want to call it. And I also noticed that I had quite a bit of accessory packs and stuff, and I don't know the difference between all the accessory packs, but I'm probably not going to bother getting into that. I just figured I'd mention that there seems to be a difference. Some of them are packaged a little differently. These are sort of a square. These are more of a rectangle. This is sort of a crinkly material, where this is just like a vacuum pack. So kind of some different stuff. This one I'm assuming is older because the Tabasco is completely dried up, where these Tabascos still look pretty good. And I noticed that some of them come with 2 towels, where others come with just 1. I wanted to mention heaters because it turns out I have a few different types of heaters here as well. There's this type, and I honestly don't know which order these come in, so I'm just going to show them to you. This one is just sort of a large package of the material, and this one is sort of coffee or tea bags of material. And there's like 4 of them there. And then this one is another unit of material, but it's inside of a cardboard sort of container. And then they all have fairly similar instructions. They're just a little bit different shades of green. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the video with this indoor lighting, but they have basically the same instructions. There's just little difference, like the thing here is clear, here it's segmented, and here it's got dots on it, but minor difference. Some of the different size of the illustration, but for the most part just minor differences. This one says 2002, I just noticed. This one says 1997, this one says 2002, and this one doesn't seem to have a date on it, so I suspect this one might be older. I'm not sure. But I did want to mention that when there's this type, I seem to have a bunch that are this type, so I must have a bunch from this era. And what I end up doing, because I just don't need the thing to be as hot as it needs to, I'll go in there usually and cut this and keep maybe 2 or 1, depending on how hot I want the food to get. I'll keep some of these aside, and then the reason I do that is you use these hot beverage bags, and then one of the empty boxes from whatever, some entree or whatever it is, and then use this, just the 1 pouch, and then just reuse one of these heater bags, and then drop in your hot beverage bag with some water and whatever you're going to put in there, coffee or tea or whatever, and then you can make a hot beverage with one of these. Or you can heat up like this, if you wanted to heat up the raspberry applesauce. Again, stick it back into one of these heater bags, just reuse the bag and the fresh stick, and that's just enough to get one of these warmed up. It can warm up any of the contents of the MREs. So that's my trick on heaters. And the other thing I had mentioned is that a lot of times I like to add some of these instant coffees, because usually if I'm out and I'm doing something like hunting or whatever where I need an MRE, I'm probably going to want coffee. And again, using this trick, I can make as much coffee as I want usually, and not have to make fires. So that's some of my MRE history here. I do have a couple from back in the old days, and I have a couple here, and I can barely read them anymore, but this one seems to say MRE menu number 2 beef patty, dehydrated, bean component, not for pre-flight, accessory packet B, and I got to figure out how to clean these up so I can read it. This one seems to say menu number 12, ground beef with something sauce, accessory packet A, Southern Packaging and Storage Company Inc., something, South Carolina. And then this one says Southern Packaging Storage Company, something, probably South Carolina also. So both of these say not for resale. So anyway, these are some older ones I have. This one's still in well, good shape for being as old as it is, probably from the 80s. And this one still looks like some kind of critter got a hole into it, so I'm debating whether or not I should bust into this one. I'm guessing there's probably bugs and crap in here, but the stuff in there seems like there's still solid packaging in there. Everything seems solid, but I don't know what these things are worth. I've been watching them on eBay, and they're not super valuable, but I hate to bust into something that might lower the value if I can find one on eBay that's already open. So anyway, this is a little bit of my MRE history. We'll probably take some of these and eat them or something to make room for the newer ones that basically are just going to give us a couple more years of freshness and a little updated menu variety. Some of the ones we have are a little boring as far as the menu variety.